From here, the story about Skirk is as follows. She starts by thanking you for helping with the cleanup regarding the all-devouring narwhal boss. She notes that she didn't expect that her disciple and her master's pet would brawl during her short private training session. Another funny thing to note is that Tartaglia said his master wasn't talkative, but she simply just doesn't talk to the weak. But she will talk to the traveler who has just managed to defeat the narwhal without using the power from beyond this world, thus gaining her approval. From here we learn that there exists a power from beyond this world, other than the 7 elements. We're not sure what that power exactly is, but it is very close to that of the powers from the Abyss. Skirk herself lived alongside the Abyss, and the narwhal also came from the Abyss, so the Abyss' true identity has started to unravel. The Abyss was quite an unknown entity, but we can confirm from Skirk that it is definitely not from this world. The Byakuya-koku collection, information from the Baptismal Vishap experimental records, also mentions the existence of power of ether and void. The powers Skirk uses very similar to void more than anything. It's also quite similar to quantum from Honkai Impact 3rd. Maybe it just outright is, so we can reasonably conclude that the power of void or quantum is just the power of space. She also mentions her master, in which she mistook that the traveler already knew them.
Oh, right. So you don't know him. Sorry, I assumed you did. His name is Sertologi.
Huh?
I am unfamiliar with that name.
Knowing this, Skirk might just have different way of thinking and social norms. It's more likely that we don't know her master, but she assumed that we for sure knew about them. Anyways, she reveals that her master's name is Sertologi. We will get more into detail as we go, but the first reference we can pull is the Titan Surtur from the Norse mythology. Sertologi, to be more specific, is the label put onto the blade that Surtur wields, and mentioned very frequently in those said myths. From this information, and all the other friends who have similar mythical references, we can theorize pretty well of who each characters might be. Dainsleif, for example, his name is also derived from a fabled sword in Norse myths. Dainsleif is said to be from Conrea, which we know is full of Nordic myth analogies. So is Rheinadottir, Kaya Alberic, and now Sertologi is in the same list. A good conclusion is that Sertologi is also strongly connected to Conrea. However, there are some things we still need to consider. A person named Dainsleif, who is also the Twilight Sword, was the royal guard of the final dynasty. So what does that make Sertologi, another name referencing another mythical sword, stand in Conrea? But knowing who Dainsleif was in Conrea, Sertologi could also have been a person of great role within Conrea. Or, since Surtur in myths is a titan that brought Ragnarok, an apocalypse that burned the world so that it can be rebuilt over its ashes, Sertologi may be connected deeply into the fall of Conrea instead. Overall, Sertologi would be easier to understand if we reference the Saritsa's lore as well. From our lore researching, we know Saritsa's aim is to change the old world into a new world, and Piero agreed to the same causes and built the Fatui Harbingers, those who could be the aid. So Sertologi alone would just be that whole same structure, but relevant to Conrea. Continuing on in Skirk's meeting, since we didn't know who Sertologi was, she started to say different names. The first name she puts out is the Foul, which could be a title said in Conrea. Just like how Dainsleif is the Twilight Sword, Sertologi would be the Foul. However, what we can't find out exactly if that is the title itself, since there were no mentions of that anywhere. This is quite surprising, the first we ever hear about such name. So this is just another piece of lore that we will have to wait for as the game progresses. Not that we have long to wait, since Fontaine's Archon quest Act 5 has concluded. We're due for another Dainsleif quest, whom he already said to meet in Fontaine after they parted ways in Sumeru. Maybe the moment we meet him again, we would start talking about our moment with Skirk and the mention of the Foul, and Dainsleif could fill us in with that missing piece of information. Back to the story. Skirk also mentions the Visionary, Vedrfolnir, and Gold Rheinadottir.
How about the Visionary? Vedrfolnir then? Or Gold Rheinadottir?
Ooh, that one we've heard! Rheinadottir's part of the Hexen Circle. She's Albedo's mom, right?
What we can know from this for sure is that Gold is Conrayan, as Skirk paired these names with Sertologi, which makes them also related to Conrea, as well as Vedrfonir being a part of Conrea as well. As expected, Vedrfonir is connected to Norse mythology. What we don't know is who exactly Vedrfonir is, and we have way less information than we do with Rheinadottir. Also, we know from the Norse mythology that it is a hawk sitting between the eyes of an unnamed eagle, which is perched on top of the world tree Yggdrasil. So let's try not get too hasty with our theories, and just stop at the point where all three of these characters are related to Conrea. We know that Tivat has its own world tree, Irminsul, located very close to Conrea, and that Irminsul is a very close analogy to Yggdrasil, which is connected to Conrea. So let's just wait until we get more quests and lore about Conrea to get the answers we want. Moving on though, Skirk mentions that her master is similar to Rheinadottir, that they both pursue some form of perfection.
My master is likely a similar sort to Rheinadottir. They are both pursuing some form of perfection.
From what we know in Tivat, Rheinadottir already conducted many experiments and created Durin, whom she thought was a failure. She then took further steps to create a homunculi that is very close to humans, who we know as Albedo. Albedo was then left to Alice after Rheinadottir discovered the heart of Nibirius and left with it. We don't really know what Rheinadottir really is thinking, but we can assume that she did it for the pursuit of perfection, and that could be creating something more perfect than Albedo. We can see from the steps she took. She first made the wolfhounds, then created Durin, then created Albedo, so now she's moving on from that too. It really shows that she really wants nothing but perfection. Now the real question is, what is something that is more perfect than a human being that Rheinadottir is making? What could be a higher being than humans in Tivat? Nothing really fits the bill except gods. We're not sure what she exactly wants to do, but I like to theorize that she might be building an artificial god by her own efforts. I think it's a possible theory considering that she is a nutcase for perfection and will not stop breaking those boundaries. Thank you all so much for watching. What do you all think of these theories? Let us all know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.